Okay, so to continue our coverage over the Dawn of X, we pick up with X-Men number 6. Now, this book right here is very important. And the reason why I say that is because it picks up right after House of X and Power of X. Now, that right there means a lot because this time we pick up in the past with Mystique and Destiny. Now remember, Destiny is a mutant who has the ability to see possible futures. She can't see the actual future, just different kinds of future. Now with that being said though, she was the one to figure out that Mormon Taggart only had 10 lives to live. And apparently one of those lives is going to be very important. But she also was the one that made Mormon Taggart actually help the mutant race. But in this book right here, we see Destiny actually talking to Mystique and telling Mystique to listen to every single word she says very carefully. Because apparently Destiny has something very important to say. But before we are able to actually learn what in the world that Destiny need to tell Mystique about, we actually jump back to the present day and we pick up with the evil organization known as Orchis. Now remember, Orchis is this new evil organization that is plotting on getting rid of the mutants completely off the face of the earth. Now with that being said, when it comes to this new evil organization, it's made up of different agents from different organizations across the world. So like SHIELD, Hydra, the Hand, the list goes on and on, AIM as well. Different agents from different organizations across the earth have come together to make this new organization to possibly get rid of the mutant race. Now, the last time we saw them was back in House of X, Power of X, and X-Men number 1, I want to say as well. But either way, back in House of X and Power of X, the X-Men team went to their space station and got rid of Mother Mold. Now remember, Mother Mold has the ability to help Orchis mass produce Sentinels on a whole new level to help them get rid of mutants across the earth. And so with that being said, the X-Men was able to get rid of Mother Mold. But this is Orchis basically telling us they're almost back to being where they were in House of X and Power of X. Their space station is completely healed up. On Mercury, they have a city called Sentinel City. They're making more Sentinels on there. Their military is getting better and better. Sooner or later, they're gonna come back and get revenge on the X-Men. It is only a matter of time. Now, we do pick up with Director Devo. Now remember, Director Devo is the one in charge of the whole organization Orchis. He's the one who's trying to find different ways to get rid of the mutant race. Now on top of that, in his lab, he also has the Omega Sentinel. Now remember, Omega Sentinels are basically human beings who were given Sentinel body parts. And so now they're more machine than men. And so right now, he's talking to the Omega Sentinel about a special project. But that is the moment you have a courier walk in to take this special project to another scientist that we have not seen in a tad bit. And so you do have Director tell the courier, this special project is very important. And to the Omega Sentinel, to her, it can change everything for their organization and also for the mutant race. But then we see the courier take the special project to Alea Gregor. Now remember, Alea Gregor is one of the top scientists in the organization. Matter of fact, her husband died back in House of X and Power of X. And so now she's even more motivated to find a way to get rid of the mutant race. But we do see her working on something, and it does look like she's working on Nimrod. And remember, Nimrod is the most powerful version of a Sentinel. He has the ability to wipe out the mutant race in the future. And so it seems like Nimrod is coming online sooner than later. But the question is now, what is that special project that this courier had delivered to her lab. But then we jump back in the past once again, where we pick up with Mystique meeting up with Charles Xavier. Now this is Mystique basically telling Charles Xavier her demands, because she feels like with all the different kinds of missions that Charles Xavier has given her, that she deserves a reward, and she only wants one thing. Now we have no idea what that one thing is, but Charles Xavier does know because he read her mind. But he says, listen, I'll give you that one thing, but we have more demands, meaning that we have more missions for you, Mystique. So before you're able to get your reward, you have to complete our missions for us. So we have one more mission: plant a seed. And we're kind of like, wait, plant a seed where though? Because remember, when it comes to those seeds, they are able to make cocoon gates. And so now the big question is, where is the seed going to be planted at? And that is when we learn that right now in the past with Mystique and Charles, it takes place right before the big mission in House of X and Power of X. Because remember, in Power of X and House of X, the X-Men were sent into space to get rid of Mother Mold. But apparently before they left, Charles Xavier gave Mystique another mission that the other X-Men did not know about, which was to plant that seed. And so right before she died on that mission, she planted that seed. And right after she planted that seed, we pick up with the scenes we saw in House of X and Power of X, where she was killed because she was sucked out into space, where of course she died out there. And so now we know what happened right before Mystique had died. Because in House of X and Power of X, it has seemed like she was doing her main mission that the other X-Men had. But now we know Charles Xavier gave her a second mission to plant that seed, because that seed is going to help the X-Men down the road later on. And the big question is now, when? And of course, we didn't pick up with her resurrection, because remember, when it comes to COPPA, at this point in Marvel Comics, you have the Five, and the Five had the ability to bring almost anyone back to life. Now that right there is very important to say, because you didn't have Mystique being brought back to life after being killed in space. But of course, now she believes that she deserves what she earned. She did another mission, and this time she died. Yes, she was brought back to life, but she died. And so now she's kind of like, I deserve my reward. Give it to me. I'm only asking for one thing. But then later on, after their resurrection, you have Mystique go into a meeting with Charles Xavier and Magneto. Now this meeting is very important, and the reason why, because you have Magneto say that him and Charles Xavier have no idea if Mystique was able to plant that seed. Now the reason why, because they were in space. They were too far away from Cerebro. And so when Cerebro and the Five brought Mystique back to life, the only memories she has is the one right before she left for her mission. And so the big question is now, did she actually plant the seed? We saw her do it, but Magneto, Charles Xavier, they have no idea. And for Mystique, she kind of remembers planting the seed. And so it's kind of like, okay, if you did plant that seed should have grown, and now we should have a gate. And we do have a new gate. But does that gate actually lead over to where you plant the seed on the Orchid space station that they have no idea about? Now, we kind of pick up in the present day, and the reason why I say kinda is because we pick up just moments before the present day, where we pick up with Mystique going through the gate that she planted on the space station of Orchid. And with her doing that, we see her shapeshift, and of course, she changes into the courier we saw earlier. Because remember, there was a courier who took a special project from Director Devo's lab over to the scientist Gregor's lab. but we had no idea what that special project was. But Mystique used that as a way to learn what they are working on now after they had lost Mother Mode. And that is the moment we come to find out they are working on making Nimrod. Nimrod is being made. And that right there is very huge to say. But then we pick up in the present day. And when we do, we pick up with the meeting going on between Charles Xavier, Magneto, and Mystique. Now with this meeting, it's basically them talking about Nimrod. Mystique tells them Nimrod is about to come online. But then you have Magneto ask Mystique one question. Why didn't you stop Dr. Gregor? If Nimrod is not finished yet, why didn't you kill Dr. Gregor? And you have Mystique say, well, we have laws. Because remember, when Charles Xavier, Magneto, Apocalypse made Krakoa, made the Quiet Council, they made 3 laws. And one of the laws, do not kill humans. And that is Mystique saying, hey, she's a human and I can't kill her. But then you have Magneto say, but in this case, you can break that law. On top of that, you know the laws truly and really do not apply to you. So you should have killed her. But this is Mystique saying, no, I'm tired doing everything for you. I'm tired going on these different missions for you. I only want one thing, my wife. And of course, her wife is Destiny. But of course, you have Charles Xavier and Magneto say, no, you can't have your wife back yet. Not until you finish everything we asked you to do. And so until you do that right there, we cannot give you your wife back. And it's kind of like, man. And so you have Mystique realize that Charles Xavier is very serious. And so she says, fine, I will go back and kill Dr. Gregor. But I want you to know this right here. I hate you, Charles Xavier. I always hated you. But either way, she is going to continue to do work for Charles Xavier and Magneto so that she can bring her wife, Destiny, back to life. Because now we know when they made Krakoa an island, a nation, she's the only mutant, maybe one of many, but she's the main one they have not brought back to life yet. But then we jump back to the conversation we saw at the very beginning of our video. The same conversation we saw Destiny Mystique have. How Destiny said she had to tell Mystique something very important. Now remember, that conversation took place way in the past. And so this is the moment you have Destiny say, listen, there's going to be an island. An island after I die. Years after I die. Do not focus on my death. Focus on what I'm going to say about the island. This island is going to be paradise. Everything they're going to promise you is going to sound so great and amazing. But they are going to keep me away from you. They will have the ability to bring me back to life, but they will keep you running around over and over again, preventing you from bringing me back to life. Don't stop until they do. And if they don't, burn that whole island down. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video.